That's ridiculous. You are Superman.
No. Lois, Superman is what I can do. Clark is who I am.
Like he's really dead, Martha. He just can't be Clark anymore. But I am Clark. I need to be Clark. I'd go crazy if I had to be Superman all the time.
Injustice Among Us is a NetherRealm Studios and Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment developed fighting video game based on the fictional universe of DC Comics that came out in 2013. It was directed and written by the people who had previously worked on Mortal Kombat, so it had pretty much similar controls, game mechanics, and a narrative-driven campaign. The story campaign was set in a parallel universe within the DC multiverse, or in a different timeline in the Hyper Time, where Superman was turned into a tyrant and established a new world order after being tricked by the Joker to cause a chain reaction that led to the destruction of Metropolis and the deaths of everyone in it. I note that this sounds similar to the Kingdom Come's backstory, where the Joker gassed the Daily Planet building and killed everyone in it. The difference here is that Kingdom Come Superman arrived too late to the scene where the Joker had already been apprehended by the police, and Superman just showed up when Magog killed the Joker. So, no. The incidents in these two stories are not comparable. In the case of the video game's story campaign, it began in the aftermath of the previously mentioned incident, and then jumped to the prime status quo version of the DC universe, before then introducing those versions of the Justice League to the world of Injustice 5 years after Metropolis blew up. Prior to the release of the game on April 16, 2013, DC Comics published a weekly prequel comic set during those 5 years leading up to the main events of the story campaign. Naturally, because the game's roster of fighters lacked a number of characters appearing in the comic, it led to everyone who played the game, or just watched the cinematics on YouTube, before reading the comic to reach the conclusion of they died during those 5 years. One YouTuber I have come across reviewing the games called the comic a poor prequel because of this. A claim I'm going to counter with not knowing how and when they died gives the prequel suspense that makes it worth reading. By that I mean, did they fall in battle, committing the ultimate sacrifice, were they killed off suddenly, or for some stupid reason that reflects on the writer's knowledge and respect for the character. I read the comic from beginning when it started getting published in January 15, 2013, and remember the suspense I had reading it, along with the frustration of the cliffhangers making me wait yet another week to get more of the story. In retrospect, this was a genius tactic in keeping people reading the comic series. Since DC and Warner Bros. Is now going to be making an animated movie about the story of Injustice, I see this as my excuse to make a similar video essay on it as I did with Flashpoint in going through the series, and explain why the upcoming adaptation should be made as a series instead of a movie. And the fact that I was originally going to make this a video essay going over the entire story before realizing it took me 6 word pages to cover the first year/volume. That this is going to be another review series, like how I reviewed Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition. The first year/volume of Injustice begins a day or mere hours before the beginning of the game's first scene, and elaborates how Superman's descent into tyranny began by promising him the happiness of fatherhood that he never got to properly experience. While Superman was delivering the good news to his chosen godfather, aka Batman, who happened to be in town looking for kryptonite smugglers, the pregnant Lois Lane had gone to follow a news tip about a corrupt senator, which had been a trap set by the Joker and Harley Quinn to kidnap her and to kill Jimmy Olsen. Finding Jimmy's body with a Joker card on it, Superman immediately begs Batman and the Justice League to find his pregnant wife. The Flash managed to go through the entire metropolis and found the corpse of the Scarecrow, while Wonder Woman had gotten the word of a nuclear submarine that the Joker and Harley Quinn had stolen and taken to the sea. The emotionally compromised Superman found the sub from the ocean and flew it to the dry land before tearing it open to find the Joker and Harley Quinn operating on his wife. You'll notice the green mists in the operating room when Superman enters and before Doomsday shows up out of nowhere. Instinctively, Superman flies Doomsday to space to protect Lois and his unborn child from the monster as the Joker and Harley Quinn exit the sub right into the Justice League's hands. Capturing the two villains, Batman and the Flash search the submarine and find the Scarecrow's fear toxin that had been laced with kryptonite stolen from Star Labs, from the case that had brought Batman to Metropolis earlier, and the sub's nuclear warhead missing. Batman being Batman is able to piece together what has happened, and tries to warn Superman about the stage situation but is too late. Superman comes back to his senses from the fear gas's effects to see Lois's lifeless body floating in front of him in the orbit as the missing nuke explodes in Metropolis. Due to the kryptonite stolen from Star Labs and Scarecrow's fear toxin, Superman had been made to hallucinate that he was fighting Doomsday, which in reality had been Lois, and when her heart stopped beating, the monitor installed during the operation that Joker and Harley Quinn had been doing to her sent the triggering signal to the warhead to detonate in the heart of Metropolis. This had been what the Joker himself referred to as switching to the easy mode of going up against Superman, compared to the hard mode where he usually went against Batman. As for how the Joker got the information to use Lois Lane as bait, the writer of the comic book series, Tom Taylor, elaborated this on a prequel series Year1, which will be a subject of a future video, but in short, in there the Joker had gotten his hands on a magical amulet, yeah, comic books am I right, that helped him kill off some members of the Justice Society with mind control, and he even tried to use it on Superman as well. It failed, but the Joker was able to get a glimpse into his mind, most notably of his relationship with Lois Lane as Clark Kent. The death of Lois and their unborn child, along with the destruction of Metropolis, aggravated Superman into an uncontrollable and unstoppable grief and rage that I'm not 100% sure how to determine it, since both the comic and the video game show it differently. When it comes to the comic, Superman just flies into the GCPD interrogating room where Batman is interrogating the Joker and kills him immediately, whereas in the video game they have a brief exchange in dialogue. It could have been to provide some context to the cold opening of the game. This predetermined murder of the Joker put Superman's priorities under a new perspective where he, as I brought up in this video, abandoned his life as Clark Kent by pulling a Brian Michael Bendis and begins to act as Superman 24/7 while also declaring a global ceasefire that he will from now on be enforcing. These events served as the catalyst that I already referred to in my Superman 1978 and Man of Steel comparative review as the undoing of the Clark Kent side of Superman, where his humanity began to diminish. When Lois and Metropolis were still around, Clark Kent was a husband and a reporter, but without them, he was reduced into just being the son of Jonathan and Martha Kent. And the reduction of that side of him really shows in Superman's emotional maturity as the series of Injustice continued. Following Superman's declaration for a new world order and relinquishment of his identity as Clark Kent, the United States government retaliated by capturing Ma and Pa Kent with the help of the villain Mirror Master, who was essentially used as the scapegoat and covered their tracks. All this master plan eventually succeeded with was that it rallied the Justice League and some members of the Teen Titans to Superman's new cause. All except for Batman, who initially remained neutral in confronting the President of the United States for kidnapping the Kents, but kept the government's part in it from his allies. This apparent inaction in trying to find his parents was the first cause of growing tension between Batman and Superman that escalated into kicking him out of the Justice League for taking Aquaman's side in breaking the global ceasefire by having his army attack whalers, which attracted the Justice League's attention to interfere. Because Batman tried to keep both sides from doing anything stupid and was the only one against taking an underwater kingdom of water breathers and putting it in the middle of a desert where only Green Lantern's dome construct was keeping Aquaman's people from a certain death. There was also an incident in Australia where Superman and Wonder Woman are spreading their peaceful message about their new world order and deal with a local hero opposing/criticizing them by violently pushing him to the ground and crippling him. All the while the Flash just watched as they put down someone who must have idolized them growing up and became a hero because of their inspiration. Likely as a message to Batman for not sharing the Justice League's new agenda, Superman announced that their next target will be the inmates held/treated in Arkham Asylum, aka most of Batman's rogues gallery, and moving them to an undisclosed location. Batman and Nightwing move in to oppose this, as the inmates do still have their human rights, and some of them actually are sick people that need to be treated. This incident at Arkham is prolific due to the events that transpire during it. First off, there is how Robin, aka Damian Wayne, who is Batman's son, decided to side against Batman and Nightwing in agreeing with the Justice League's cause in taking the inmates away from Arkham. Second, there is the revelation of how Batman had created his countermeasures against his allies, and uses one of them on Cyborg to stop him from opening the inmate cell doors, which Cyborg is able to learn that Batman had placed the virus subroutine into his systems on the week they had first met. This does not bode well to the already fragile terms between them, and it does not help Batman looking any better to his son or to his allies on who is supposed to be in the right. Finally, there is the inevitable prison riot where all the inmates are released at the same time thanks to Harley Quinn and Green Arrow, who had been keeping her captive elsewhere for protection, but decided to bring her in now after she almost burned down his Arrow cave. This prison riot forces the two separate hero factions to team up until the riot is taken care of, but during it, Robin's violent behavior and approval of it from Superman's side causes him to lash out against the inmates violently, which causes him to respond to Nightwing's advice in not beating the inmates when they are already down, by throwing his Eskrima stick at Nightwing when his back is turned, hit him in the head and lose consciousness, which results in what can be seen as either a tragic accident or as a stupid death, as Dick Grayson dies by falling on a debris with the back of his neck first. For the sake of the story, let's go with the former, and see that losing two of his sons like this gains Batman similar sympathy that Superman got when his parents were taken. Some part of Superman's remaining humanity must realize this, as afterwards he approaches Catwoman with the news of Nightwing's death and suggests her to go see Batman for comfort. After Selina has held Bruce when he is in mourning, they are contacted by the President of the United States, who supports Batman's side in creating what is, by the events of the video game, called the Insurgency. Notable members in it during Year 1 are Green Arrow, Black Canary, Batwoman, Black Lightning, Catwoman, Huntress, Captain Atom, and Martian Manhunter. Martian Manhunter in particular is used as an undercover agent to infiltrate the Justice League to spy on them during their time, when Lex Luthor is found as the sole survivor in the ruins of Metropolis in an underground bunker. A stark contrast in the relationship between Superman and Lex Luthor is at this point revealed, as in the world of Injustice the two were never enemies, but rather the best of friends, and upon his rescue, Luthor is immediately welcomed into the Justice League, where he begins creating the 5U93R pills.
Headache?
Trying to prevent one.
It's a durability enhancer. 5U93R.
How can a pill allow...
Kryptonian nanotech. Increases the tensile strength of bone and tissue by several thousand%.
Those in-game excuses on how everyone is on the same level on strength, stamina and durability in the superhero fighting game. Also in the middle here, Darkseid's son Kalibak notices how Earth has changed during Superman's New World Order, and takes it as an invitation to invade with an army of parademons. And this invasion is really stupid, because it tries to make it seem bad that Superman uses all he has to kill the parademons, who are essentially just hive-minded zombies with their free will taken away from them. So euthanizing them as Superman does shouldn't be seen as a bad thing. He pretty much saved them from eternal servitude and let them die in peace. If you want to complain about something that happened during this invasion, complain about executing Kalibak after he yielded, because I'm pretty sure that is a war crime. After the invasion, Damian decides to go back home to probably try to apologize for Dick's death, with Alfred welcoming the boy back with open arms, but Bruce not being as welcoming. This reunion escalates because Damian had taken an 5U93R pill before coming to the cave, and overuses his strength when lashing out at Bruce and Alfred by causing the giant penny to almost fall on them. But Martian Manhunter, who had been following him disguised as Hawkgirl, managed to keep it from getting worse. Unfortunately, Martian Manhunter's cover gets blown because Damian notices that Hawkgirl shouldn't be this strong, Hawkgirl shouldn't know where the Batcave is, and Hawkgirl shouldn't obey Batman's orders to take Damian away. So, Martian Manhunter is revealed as Batman's mole disguised as Hawkgirl, who Batman had captured and locked in the Batcave. These actions lead to the Justice League retaliating by outing Batman's secret identity as Bruce Wayne to the entire world on Twitter. Batman is so forced to abandon the Batcave and move into some of his other numerous hideouts, while Martian Manhunter delays the League members who have come to tell Batman to stop opposing them or else at the cave. This should also be a good spot to mention that the Injustice version of Wonder Woman is one of the worst versions of the character, who makes the other poorly written portrayals look good. She sees everything that Superman does as righteous, almost forced Black Adam to commit suicide, gave assault rifles to female prisoners in a third world country to kill their male captors, and when Martian Manhunter is trying to have a civilized discussion with Superman on why he does not approve of his actions, because John had lived through the Martian Civil War between the Green and White Martians, her first course of action is to try crush his head inside her fist. And then she begs Superman to kill John, when he uses his shape-shifting abilities to enter her body through the airwaves to make her feel as hopeless and powerless as the people they have been forcing their powers onto. John dies as the first casualty by Superman's hand after the Joker for the sake of the world peace they are trying to bring. The killing of Martian Manhunter gives Batman's side more motivation to keep opposing Superman's reign, and their next step is to go steal those 5 U93R pills that to give them a fighting chance. Because now the only allies with powers that he has are just Black Lightning and Captain Atom, or technically also Black Canary since she has the Canary Cry, aka Supersonic Scream, but that's not very much to go with, so better to get the pills. The intel gained by someone, who John managed to turn into a double agent in the Justice League before his death, said that the pills were being made in the Fortress of Solitude, so Batman goes there with Catwoman and Captain Atom, with Black Canary and Green Arrow also tagging along. Once again, the President of the United States provides a distraction by having Superman be occupied by moving US Navy warships to the Korean peninsula, but he sees through it at the worst possible time. Since his parents were taken back from Mirror Master's hiding place, Superman had placed Ma and Pa Kent to the Fortress of Solitude for protection. Coming across them, Batman realizes that the risk of breaking in is too great if Superman were to believe he was there for his parents, and is proven to be right when he sees Captain Atom incapacitated with Superman's hand around his throat. But fortunately, Captain Atom is not down for the count yet, and begins to buy Batman's team time to make their retreat. All but Green Arrow, who is separated from the others during the commotion to the same side with the Kent. Superman and Captain Atom's fight is best described as Wonder Woman cuts into it, and through Captain Atom's armor, keeping his powers from being unleashed. And if you're watching this video, I expect you to be smarter than this version of Wonder Woman in knowing what happens when an atom gets split open. Wonder Woman is put into a coma for being an absolute dumbass, while Superman charges back to the fortress to make sure his parents are okay, in the company of Green Arrow, whose poker face should signal everyone seeing him that he wishes he was anywhere else. Trying to bluff and not appear to be a coward, Oliver attempts to swipe one of the pills and fails as Superman intimidates him not to by shooting a heat blast at them. Oliver tries to distract Superman by shooting an arrow at him, but like with the bad luck of Kajimo Touma,
非常食のカップ焼きそばを流し台に全部ぶちまけてしまい、財布を探しているうちにキャッシュカードを踏み砕き、担任から「上条ちゃんバカだから補習です」とラブコール。
The arrow deflects off Superman's bulletproof skin and hits Parken to the shoulder, which coupled with Captain Atom's previous attempt to take him out with him and Wonder Woman being put into a coma really pisses Superman off that much that it seals Oliver's fate. The last act before the lights go out for him is to shoot one more arrow past the angered Superman with a 5U93R pill and his locator beacon tied to it for Batman, Catwoman and his pretty bird to find. letting them know not to wait for Oliver to come back. As they make their escape, Ma and Pa Kent, along with Jor-El's artificial intelligence, manage to bring Superman back to his senses and stop beating Oliver's corpse. This lucidity is however not long, as Superman's reduced mental maturity focuses more on how one of the 5U93R pills is gone, and likely in Batman's hands, so he ignores his father's clear need for medical attention in favor of going after Batman. While Ma and Pa Kent apologize to Jor-El for failing to raise his son, and the AI apologizes for releasing his son to their world, Batman and Catwoman report to Batwoman, Huntress and Black Lightning why they are 2 men short, as Black Canary walks quietly away to be alone. The deaths of Martian Manhunter, Captain Atom and Green Arrow weigh on Batman that Superman is no longer the Clark Kent they all used to know, and it is vital to get the 5U93R pill analyzed so it can be synthesized for their side's use. Due to their short time limit and the need of getting it done fast, Batman knows he can only get it done with the Bat computer at the Batcave, which would be the first place Superman would look for him, but that is a risk he is willing to martyr himself for. Catwoman gives a very believable and honest plea for him not to go, and even as I have washed my hands of being a Batcat shipper, this moment between them is earned, all the way from when she first came to confront him after Nightwing died. And because true to his character, Batman uses this chance to stun her while kissing her, and leaves Catwoman for Huntress to take somewhere to wake up alive and pissed off at him, as he teleports to the Batcave. Batman arrives at the Batcave and begins the analyzing process of the Batcomputer when he gets a late warning about Superman arriving mere seconds before he arrives. The confrontation between the former friends boils down less into a final battle and more as a conversation of Batman mostly just needing to buy time to distract Superman so he won't see that the 5U93R is being analyzed. At this point, I am once again bringing up how Superman's emotional maturity has been reduced from an adult's level to that of a child's, as Clark Kent is no longer a mild-mannered reporter and a husband, but rather just the son of Jonathan and Martha Kent. Trying to reach out to him as Clark, which Batman keeps doing now and in the future, is a fool's errand and a waste of an effort, because whatever is left of this Clark Kent is not the same as this Clark Kent, or this Clark Kent, or even this Clark Kent. The Injustice version of Superman is, as I said in my comparative review of Superman 1978 and Man of Steel, the absence of Clark Kent as the representation of his humanity. People like to complain about the importance of Lois Lane being Superman's connection to humanity, while ignoring that she is not a part of Superman's life. She is Clark Kent's wife, not Superman's. The difference is that in 1986, John Byrne flipped the identity dynamic so that Clark Kent is the person, and Superman is just something he does to use his powers to help people. He does not have a life as Superman.
That's ridiculous. You are Superman.
Oh, Superman is what I can do. Clark is who I am.
You just can't be Clark anymore. But I am Clark. I need to be Clark. I'd go crazy if I had to be Superman all the time.
His life is as Clark Kent. And in the Injustice universe, the very definition and the things Clark Kent used to represent have been ripped away from Superman and reduced to just being the alien son raised by 2 farmers. But since that is what he used to be and is not physically a child anymore, this Superman is now mentally just a man-child trying to make sense of the world again as he used to, under new circumstances, and trying not to repeat past mistakes that led him to this situation. And since he is mentally reduced into a man-child's level, he reacts more positively to the approval of his actions from those of his allies who are supporting him, and negatively to the criticism opposed by Batman with his allies. The only thing keeping this Superman above Superboy Prime in the man-child comparisons is that the Injustice version of Superman actually lived as the basic Superman and has that insight on how he should be, while Superboy Prime never got the chance to grow up and was only left with the vague idea of what he could have been. I can't be sure if either Tom Taylor or Brian Buccellato, who wrote this comic book series, or the people in charge of writing the game stories ever even came to acknowledge this point of view. Anyway, Batman manages to keep Superman distracted from the 5U93 RPO's analyzation on the last second when he tries to grab it, forgetting a fighting chance to probably get out of the situation alive. But Superman, being faster than a speeding bullet, stops and unmasks him before immobilizing him with a true and tested method of breaking Bruce's back. When Bane did it, it took Bruce maybe a year to get back on his feet, and a couple of months of physical therapy before he was back in action. So Superman knew that Batman would be out of commission if taken into custody with a broken back. Still, the martyrdom worked as the 5U93 RPL got analyzed with all the information being sent to a remote server. And trying to interrogate where the server is, Bruce manages to shoot back that using torture for the greater good only makes Superman look like a bigger hypocrite. While stunned by those words, the faithful butler Alfred shows up behind Superman and beats him down with the 5U93 RPLs, given strength and his anger of how Superman's actions have hurt his family in causing Dick Grayson's death, Damian's deflection, and now with Bruce hurt on the ground unmasked to the rest of the world. After showing how the pills work, the faithful butler picks up his master, and Princess carries him to the teleporter, noting that they have nothing left for them in the cave or the manor anymore. Year1 ends on a final scene of Superman addressing the United Nations by declaring Batman as a wanted terrorist who has stolen a powerful weapon and uses this form of truth to justify why the Justice League is going to be recruiting 5U93R powered people to work as their masked stormtroopers. Just going over the first year of Injustice took 6 pages to write down, which I can tell from experience spreads this video to be longer than I initially estimated. That is another reason why Injustice should never be attempted to be adapted into just one movie. For comparison, the first season of Amazon's Invincible adaptation was just the beginning of a larger story, and it had just 8 episodes. Imagine if they had attempted to stuff all of 145 issues of that story into just one movie. That would have been an absolute disaster that was avoided by turning it into a series. And from the experience of the previous animated movies that DC and Warner Bros. Have done, they have just barely managed to get their runtimes above 75 minutes or 81 minutes. So turning just this first year/volume into one of those animated movies and then giving it sequels for the rest of those years and volumes would require them cutting out important, sounds stupid, but still important character building moments that justify the future actions out for the sake of the runtime. And we all know what happens when you need to cut out important scenes out of a movie for the sake of the runtime. Looking into the future of the Injustice years/volumes going forward to the events of the first video game, I believe I should be able to cover Year 2 and the first half of Year 3 in the next part, with the latter half of Year 3 and Year 4 also fitting into one video as well, for the reasons I'll get to when I get there. For the sake of getting this video that follow-up, please do and like this video while also leaving a comment or more to get this video more attraction in the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe to let me know that there is an audience for these videos that I'm making. Also, share the video to your friends who are aware of the Injustice series, and may your heart be your guiding key.